Hello everybody, welcome to Recovered Ab TV. My name's Chris, I'm your coach and sports therapist, and welcome to this video. It is all about barefoot running shoes. I particularly wear Vivobarefoot running shoes. They're the only barefoot running shoes I've really worn. I started my journey into barefoot running quite a while ago, back in, if you want to call it barefoot running, when Nike released their Nike Frees back in 2006, is when I kind of got interested in the whole concept of barefoot running. I've always been fascinated by the body, fascinated by nature and getting outdoors. So when Nike released their barefoot shoe, I was absolutely fascinated, and I bought away. And I did right up until 2017 when I bought my first pair of Vivobarefoot shoes. Now, I was asked recently to a couple of questions on like how I've transitioned into wearing barefoot shoes and do everything that I do, and if I have any problems running X amount of distance, because this person does. So I thought I'd make a video for the YouTube channel, send it over to this person, and I thought I'd be able to potentially help you guys with your transitions, or get you interested, or help you if you're already transitioning into it and you've come up with some problems. Now, for me personally, this is my personal experiences with this sort of lifestyle. So it's not a one-fits-all kind of approach. It's just me reflecting on the things that I've done and that have worked for me and continue to work for me, and kind of what I've found. So by all means, use the comment section below. Let me know how you're getting on. Let me know certain brands that you use, whether you don't use Vivo or you found some others that I don't know of. But yeah, so like the real reason why I kind of got into barefoot shoes were because I started my my professional journey back in 2009. However, like I said, I always had a fascination with the human body, how it moved. I did a lot of rock climbing, a lot of sports growing up, so I was always kind of an outdoorsy person, and spent a lot of time on beaches. So didn't really have footwear on. So always believed that our feet were the foundations to our body. So if they were kind of screwy or kind of ruined, if you will, by conventional shoes, and just kind of the things that we did to it, like over, for example, like traditional China or Japan, where they kind of bound your feet for like aesthetic reasons, it kind of damages, in my eyes, the foundations to our house, the house being our body. Now, for me, it was setting the foundation in that, and then as I kind of started my career and my education and my studies into the fitness world and the health and body and biomechanics, I kind of really started diving into the importance of corrective exercise, rehabilitation, looking at how our bodies function, and how it then turns into performance if you're looking into performance or health and well-being. Now, I, like I said, got into Nike free runs until 2006. And I kind of stuck with Nike for a very long time, even right up until I did my first Ironman. Now, traditionally, I was getting on fire with my Nike free runs. I was loving life in them. You know, they were, especially when they released their second series, they became this really big fashionable trainer, especially kind of in commercial gyms where I was working. And for me, personally, I got kind of bullied a lot as a kid. So wearing Nikes or Nikes were kind of like the in thing. So I kind of played it safe, if you will, that I kind of stuck with a brand that I was never going to get bullied with, or kind of have the piss taken out of me. So when it came to wearing Vivos back in 2017, I found them and they literally had maybe 6 or 7 pairs of barefoot shoes on their online store, and it popped up on an Instagram post how I found them, because I was kind of going down that. I was going through like my interest into toe spaces to kind of realign the feet, because I was like under the belief that you would never put your toe, like your hands, into kind of a glove that would crush your fingers, because you wouldn't be able to use your hand properly, to grab. So I found myself very curious that why are we doing the same with our feet? If our hands have the same amount of receptors, nerve endings, as our feet, why are we doing the same? So I kind of really got into that. I kind of was getting into all things kind of endurance and adventure sports, and I saw that they had partnered with Otillo Swim Run, the World Championships for swim run, and naturally on Instagram, all things kind of beautiful in regards to imagery. Was amazed by Otillo's marketing strategies and so on and so forth. So I found myself following them. And then when they collaborated, because I spend a lot of time at the beach, open water swimming, just surfing, doing that sort of lifestyle, for me, the beaches and the sea, spending time in the sea is kind of like my happy place. It's where I feel most at peace. I kind of found myself obsessing over their shoe that they partnered with. Now the difference between kind of those shoes and traditional Nike shoes at the time was massive, because naturally they're even thinner. As beautiful as they were at the time, a lot of people didn't know about barefoot shoes, so they weren't as sexy in the kind of the world's view, if you will, and everyone was like, what the hell are those? I had pretty much this similar to the trail shoes that I wear now. I literally had these for Christmas, but this was a kind of bright fluorescent orange color, and it was kind of black at the top, but it was much more kind of like less spongy by here, if you will, and they would dry quicker, hence the swim run. So kind of like suck to your ankle like a sock, similar to their latest version of the swim run range. Now I absolutely love them, however I have size 12 feet, as you can see, so when I wore them, typically people took the piss and kind of reminded me that my feet look like Daffy Duck's feet, kind of black upper top and kind of fluorescent orange bottoms, Now, being the person who kind of got bullied, I was very, very wary of transitioning and stuff, but as a sports scientist, I kind of really believed in the science behind it and transitioning into that, and I kind of believed that, well, if you have all the kind of big fast runners over in Kenya and they're kind of doing barefoot running without actual trainers on, and then wearing their trainers as a race tool as opposed to as a lifestyle, then their shoe adds to their feet as opposed to their feet being one with the shoe. Now for me, it kind of made sense that if you start strengthening the foot and the lower extremities, and then wore a performance shoe on race day, for example, your foot would react better because it's a stronger version. Now Vivo have teamed up with the University of Liverpool and produced a study where they've shown that over a 12-week period your feet can improve its strength wearing Vivobarefoot shoes by 60%. Now I've been witness to that. I've been wearing those shoes since 2017, which is about 7 or 8 years, I believe, if the math is correct. And I've witnessed massive differences in strength and so on, and kind of to revert my go back a little and retrace my steps. When I went to do my first Ironman, I was part of the Nike Running Club in Cardiff. I was going along to that kind of every week, and naturally everyone's wearing kind of Nike clothing and Nike running shoes and so on and so forth, because it's a Nike organised run club. Now, when I then went to transition into, right, I'm increasing my distance, because before that I'd only ever kind of run a 5 or 10k, and I was then going to go, right, okay, I'm going to do an Ironman, so I need more cushion, you know, just like everyone else is being pushed into this belief system that if you're running longer you need more support, instead of going down the belief system that now I have is, right, you need to strengthen your feet just like you would strengthen your muscles in your legs, your arms, your torso, and the more proprioceptive exercises you would do, the stronger and more stability your feet and lower limbs have. Now, in turn, that proprioceptive quality around the ankle and the hip helps safeguard the knees, and that's certainly what I found throughout my transition, because when I then bought my neutral pair of Nike trainers that had more support, that had more cushioning, that were meant to help me get to Ironman, I ended up having to throw them away, because after a while my feet were getting injured. I was getting a lot of pain on the kind of the lateral aspect on the front of my foot, and it hurt to run. So I did what I knew, and I kind of went back to my free runs, and I did my first race in a pair of free runs. And then since then I've done pretty much all my races and everything I do in kind of barefoot shoes. Now, what I have had, my first pair was the Artillo Swim Run collaboration shoes that I mentioned earlier. I've literally bought the Bloom version, so you can see that these are well worn, well battered, but I refuse to kind of throw them away, just because I use them in everything, kind of beach and open water and so on and so forth in the summer. I do a lot of open water swimming, so I just chuck these on because I don't need socks, and they stretch open, and I can chuck them on and go back home, you know. So I kind of wear them like an outdoor slipper, if you will, and they're just brilliant. Now, I've had a ton of Vivos, and had I known that I was going to be making this video, I probably would have kept them. I've recently moved, so a lot of them got kind of sent back to Vivo to part of their kind of Revivo campaign, which is brilliant because it recycles their shoes. Now, my process where I've kind of transitioned and developed as a runner or as a barefoot wearer, when I first had my very first pair back in 2017, I would walk to work, which was about a mile, maybe a mile and a half. I'd work long hours, over 12 hours in a gym, and naturally be moving around, exercising with clients or with classes and so on and so forth. And all I did was wear the shoe as a all-day shoe. So I did no training for quite a while, and I just got used to me wearing a shoe with less support. Now, what that did was help build up my chronic load within my foot, and help my foot get used to doing the reps, if you will, in regards to the barefoot training that I was doing. Now, at the time, that was just walking around and doing life. Over time, and it was kind of like maybe a few weeks, a month, but over time, what I then did was, for my runs, I would do the first kilometre on a treadmill. I would slowly jog into it, wearing my Vivos, and then I'd take them off, and then I'd put my other running trainers on, and I'd finish the run in those trainers. I did that for the following month, and then the month after, I then started introducing sprints. So on the days that I was doing interval training, I would do all my sprints in my Vivos. And by then you're kind of 3 months into my transition, if you will, where I'm walking around all the time, and I was doing roughly around 30,000 steps a day. So just to give that some context, because of the amount of walking I was doing around the gym, and then moving and walking to and from work and so on. Now I know that's completely outrageous amount of steps for some people. And I totally understand that. Like most office workers struggle to get 10,000 in. But if you break it down and put it into context, then just acclimatise to your lifestyle. Now, once I started kind of doing sprints and so on and so forth in them, I then decided, right, I'm going to take it out and do kind of like small loops of like 5k distances and then 10k distances, and then I would do bike run transitions into my Vivos, and kind of go out on a kind of a tireder foot and tireder legs, having done the bike section of that brick session and then going into that run section. Now, most of you guys might not be triathletes, but I think if you focus on developing and slowly building up foot strength, then you can transition quite easily. Now, what I've done alongside this was the gym that I was working in, I kind of brought prehab and corrective exercise classes to that facility. That has really, really helped my development as an athlete and as a barefoot athlete, reducing injuries, because since I've started wearing Vivos, I have never had an injury all the way up till right now, touch wood. Now, that's been through doing a lot of corrective exercise in regards to my entire body. It's also been through building up chronic loads and training within kind of my training zones, if you will. So being smart and using science to kind of help me kind of look after my body and adapt and kind of grow from that. Now, I've gone and done, so for example, the beginning of lockdown during the pandemic, in May, I was lucky enough to be able to run the most I'd ever done at that time, because of obviously being out of work. I decided to help the NHS charities raise money for them by breaking the world record for the most half marathons run within a month by a male. At the time, it was set by a guy who had run 18 half marathons, and at the time I went out and kind of did 36. So I was doing one a day for the first 3 weeks, and then as the loading kind of dropped, I wanted to push myself a little bit more. So on the last week, I kind of doubled up, except for the last day because my partner wanted to celebrate. Now, at the time, Vivo were really kind and really supportive. They donated these African style shoes that they were releasing. I take a lot of slack off my partner for this because she thinks they're hideous. However, I think they are the most comfortable shoe in the world, and wear them in the summer. What you'll find with these type of shoes is they're really thin, and I know some people really struggle with the cold in regards to how thin the Vivos are, and I get it to a point, but I also think that I'll just wear a little thicker sock. That's kind of really helped me because I'm quite thin, and doing a lot of cold water exposures helped me regulate my system a little bit better, so I don't get as cold. But I can completely understand about the shoes and stuff. When you wear kind of thicker shoes and there's more material on there, then yes, they're going to keep your feet a little bit warmer. But yeah, that month I did that world record and kind of ended up running those 36 marathons. Now, to do that, I did absolutely no training whatsoever. Couple weeks prior, I hadn't left my house for kind of 2 months during the pandemic. I did a walk around Cardiff Bay kind of barrage area, which is like a 10k loop with my family, and I ended up getting a blister just from walking because I hadn't been walking so much. So I knew I really needed to dial into science, what science says. So the way I ended up breaking that record was focusing on the things that I practice, which is recovery, getting as much recovery in as you can, and that's not just resting, that's massaging, that's cold water exposure, that is looking at your macro and micro nutrients in regards to nutrition, your hydration, looking at kind of any sorts of lymphatic drainage, whether you're using certain compressions equipment or clothing. I use like high price equipment, like the Normatex and some of their other pieces of equipment like the massage guns or massage devices that can attach to you. I'm a big fan of those and the things that they do, so check them out. But as much as I did the running, I also did a ton of recovery as well. Now, every single run I did within a zone 2 pace. Now, the way I would work your pacing out is you do a 10k fastest time. You then work out your zones, so you get a kind of a threshold time using that 10k time, and then you have your kind of 5 zones, if you will. Whatever that zone 2 pace is, I kind of ran those marathons at. That allowed me to manage my chronic load and acute loads day by day, so it wasn't just such a spike. And what I saw over the first 2 weeks was naturally it kind of went higher and higher as my fatigue built. And then coming into week 3, my body got used to it and it started dipping down and things started getting easier. You know, so week 3 really made a big difference for me as I kind of really built into that, kind of focused on maintaining a zone 2 pace. Over that month, my heart rate dropped by 36 beats a minute. So it was a massive decrease in regards to my resting heart rate. And to be honest, I was the fittest I'd ever been. I was running a lot of the YouTube classes that you'll see on this channel. If you go over to the playlist section, you go right back to the start. I was doing a system where it was kind of back on Instagram when I first started, where I would do an upper body session, a lower body session, and then recovery. So it would be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I go Thursday back to upper body, Friday back to lower body, and then recovery. That recovery session was a yoga-based session or stretching-based session. By no means am I a yoga expert, and as you'll see in some of the videos, I'm probably just as tight as you, or if not tighter. However, they made a massive difference. So when I started delivering those sessions, it was to give me something to do during the pandemic, and I felt kind of like I lost my purpose and I wasn't able to help people. So I ended up putting it up on YouTube and doing that, and there's over 500 videos now. But if you go to our playlist section, I've organized it week by week. And if you want, you can now do those videos, you know. I ended up changing it into a 5-day week. So it was kind of like upper body strength, lower body strength, recovery on the Wednesday, and then upper body prehab, so that corrective exercise that has helped me stay injury free, and then lower body prehab, which is the stuff that is going to help you transition into that barefoot running. It's going to help increase your balance, and it's also going to help increase kind of any strength issues that you're struggling with in regards to your lower foot, your knee, your hip, maybe certain alignments biomechanically that you're kind of really struggling with. And those I've seen over my years of training, and it has helped hundreds and hundreds of people that I've worked with, whether it's been in a class scenario situation where at the facility that I used to work with, whether it's been online, I was lucky enough to help people in the pandemic from different countries through watching the videos on YouTube. And also the one-to-one clients I see on a weekly basis or train online now, so try and get your hands into that type of stuff, buy into that kind of methodology, if you will, because it does transition into better running performances, better sport or life performances. I was treating someone who is a dancer earlier today and teaching them the exact same thing. If you do this corrective exercise stuff, you can do the more of the things that you love, and whatever that may be. It's the same with the recovery. What I like to think is typically you're building up the load and the chronic stress within your limbs, for example. And I like to think of it as a pint glass, regardless of whether you're training or you're not training, whether you have good posture or you don't. If you're slumped and sat down, you will develop stress. If you're running 100 miles, you'll develop stress. But I like to think of it as this pint glass that the tap is always pouring into. Now, unless you're doing that recovery work to get the water out of the pint glass, as the pint starts rising, you will start to feel the effects of that stress on your body. Now, a lot of us will start telling ourselves we're getting older. A lot of us will start telling ourselves we're getting injured. And in reality, it's a lot of tension and tightness. Now, that's not all cases, so just be aware of that. And to put a full disclaimer out there, some of you have got injured, so you should go check yourself out. But 9 out of 10 times in my personal experience and what I've seen in my profession is a lot of us don't know how to look after ourselves in the first place. So the more we then look after ourselves, the more we work on those pieces of the puzzle, we can get the picture that we want. Whether that's to just live a nice balanced lifestyle, train a little bit, kind of be much more natural, go barefoot, be natural in our kind of nutrition as well, or it's to really push our performance, whether it's been the strength training and training in a barefoot way and increasing our mobility, or it's to push ourselves as an endurance athlete, whether that's swim, bike, run, or anything in between. But I can really suggest that if you combine what you're doing and build up the loads by kind of like a 10% ratio over time, every kind of 3 to 4 weeks, have a little deload week where you're kind of dropping the kind of the build up, if you will, and then go again. Another thing I would suggest is testing, so every 12 weeks, test yourself, find out your reason why, what are you trying to prove, and then over that 12-week period, catalog it, whether it's using social media, whether it's using a diary or an online training diary. Write as much stuff as you can down, talk as much as you can if you're kind of vlogging things up on YouTube or any social media platform, and find out what is working for you and what isn't. The more you talk, the more you ask questions on here, for example, the more myself and others can help. I've been able to do ultramarathons in Vivobarefoot shoes. I'll be doing a 70-mile ultramarathon next month in these Vivos here. I've done a bit of training in already. They're still looking pretty clean because it's been raining incredibly over the last few days. But the more you kind of wear them into your lifestyle, the more you're going to be able to break them in, build up your feet. The more you try and remove your conventional shoes out of your lifestyle, and whether that be you go barefoot around your house as much as you possibly can. I found that I've also changed some of my socks, so I wear Injinji socks now. For those who don't know, those are the toe socks. And I've had a million wonderful looks and comments and all the rest of it, but they are super comfortable. I'm currently wearing them now. I'll get my foot out. But yeah, so I've got the toe socks on now. For those who were interested in what those are, and they've really helped me in regards to spacing my feet. So those toe spaces that I suggested earlier, that I've worn in the past to help me realign my toes, because what I was finding is as I went longer and pushed it, I would always lose my toenails on the ring toe, if you call it that. I don't know what that toe is, but the ring finger version of the toes, because my toe would slowly go underneath it. Now, as I then wore toe spacers, as I've then kind of done more proprioceptive work to kind of re-engage my foot and to help improve my balance and my stability within the lower limb and my hip, that's kind of safeguarded my knee. That's also safeguarded kind of injuries, and I stopped losing toenails because of the kind of the toe box you have here, because it's wider in this section upwards. Your toes have more room to breathe. You know, they have more room to kind of slide forward, move around. I did the Dragon 100 a couple of years back. And that's across all types of terrain. So the Welsh Coastal Path is across beaches in the Gower. So you're running on mud, sand, grass, gravel. And I did it in an old pair of these that have been completely bad. I still have them. And tend to wear them for all the messy jobs now, you know, or if I know I'm going to go out and they're going to get hammered. I'll wear those, because as much as the shoe will wear, they still have a bit of support in regards to obviously my bare foot isn't out being rubbed on the floor. Now, naturally, because of the thinness of the shoes, you're going to notice wearing a lot more, whereas on a conventional trainer you have the tread, then the foam. So you're able to get away with it a lot more. Now, realistically, you should be changing your shoes every couple hundred miles anyway. Now, obviously, that's expensive. I know how expensive that is. I haven't got the money to waste either. But I've had people who wear Vivos say, "Oh, I'm not going to wear Vivos anymore just because it's super expensive," and so on and so forth. And I get it to a degree, but we also waste so much money on so many other things that don't help us improve as human beings, or don't help us live a better quality of lifestyle. Whereas I like to put my efforts into the quality of lifestyle I have in regards to my health, wealth, and well-being, as opposed to the potential materialistic things that I can have 20 trainers for the price of the same, you know. I've had another pair of Vivo or similar to Vivo shoes bought for me that were kind of like cheap and cheerful barefoot running shoes off where was it, Amazon, and they were from China. What I found is, although they were kind of a zero drop shoe, that inside where the padding was on the inside, it kind of tried to mold your foot into this archway, into the way that they had their insert inside their shoe. And I ultimately kind of ended up not wearing those shoes for too long, because the great thing with Vivos is I don't have to break them in. Because once I've had one shoe and I've got used to that shoe, I can just buy brand new shoes. It's like I wore, this was a brand new shoe for Christmas, and literally I went out after not long having it and just did a 15k run without having to break that shoe in, just because it's the same as kind of any other shoe, you know, that I have in regards to kind of Vivo barefoot shoes, you know. So that's the real benefit of them. Obviously I've said a lot of information. I don't know how useful it is, but ask as many questions as you'd like. hopefully the video has helped you in some degree. By all means, ask as many questions as pop up in your head. I'll do my best to answer all of them. It's kind of like a very broad, very long-winded description of why I wore shoes and kind of where I've come from in regards to kind of starting off and doing half marathons in them, to doing triathlons in them, to doing Ironman in them, to breaking a world record in them, to kind of running ultra marathons, from anything from 50 milers to 100 milers. Next year I'll look to push and do 250 milers as I look to kind of further myself in ultra marathon running. This year I'll be wearing Vivobarefoot shoes in all of the Ironman challenges that I'll be doing. So for those who don't know and those who haven't seen my channel and subscribed, this year I'm going to be running all of the UK and Ireland Ironman races. So half Ironman Staffordshire, Ironman Bolton, half Ironman Swansea, half Ironman Cork, full Ironman Cork the following day, Ironman Wales, and half Ironman Weymouth. It's never been done before in one season, so I'm going to be the first person to do that. It's to raise money for a charity called Rock to Recovery. It's a military-based charity that help serving and non-serving military personnel, as well as the 999 services. Just because I think it's important to help the people that help us, and I'll be doing it all in Vivobarefoot shoes, you know. So if you want to follow my journey, I'm going to do a lot more kind of vlogging in this sense, where showing you how I'm doing it and why I'm doing it, and all the weird and wonderful things that I'll be uploading in regards to my training, my nutrition, the equipment I'm using, reviews on the equipment, also little short snippets of kind of exercise routines, exercise videos that you can get involved in. I'll be uploading all those as well. So thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. It really helps the channel. We've only a small channel at the moment. We've just gone over 500 subscribers, which is nothing compared to some of the big boys out there, and girls. Yeah, I appreciate your support. Appreciate all of you who have followed already, and thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Take care.